They say that 41-year-old Michael Edward Barnett has been arrested. He is expected to be extradited to the Carolinas, but neighbors say they're now happy that the person responsible for causing this massive fire that caused damage to homes in this area is now behind bars.
Happening today, a Lancaster Walmart expected to reopen. It comes more than a week after a 12-year-old is accused of starting a fire inside of it. It's also the same Walmart where 2 people were shot last month. Walmart says it will limit the number of customers inside and only the grocery entrance will be open.
Several counties are set to discuss their 2026 spending plans tonight, including leaders here in Mecklenburg County. The 2026 budget will lay out spending priorities in areas like public safety, health, and education. The plan also includes a big emphasis on transit. Gaston County leaders are expected to present their spending plan later tonight.
All right, if you typically take Independence, we currently have an ongoing accident on Highway 24, Albemarle Road at W.T. Harris. That's where we do have some slowdowns there. So just be mindful that you might want to allow for a few extra minutes to get to where you want to be. But that's the biggest ongoing accident as of now. Chris?
It officially is raining from our Dallas camera. You can see those big old drops that are now hitting the camera. So this is what the rain's going to do. It's actively raining in Cleveland, Gaston, Lincoln, parts of York County. It slowly spreads its way across the Charlotte area, breaks up, but then by the late morning and the early afternoon, we have a chance for spotty showers and storms. You might have gotten a quick downpour yesterday. Same thing goes for today. Spotty showers continue through the afternoon, heading into the evening. After that, drier for the start of the PGA at Quail Hollow. Near 90 on Friday, feeling more humid, and then we should be dry Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday.
Wow.
Excellent.
When you see the 4 of us all together, you really do see that you are not wearing red.
One of these kids is doing his own thing.
Or maybe he just stands out.
Dare to be different, I guess.
In a good way.
That's right.
That's why we love
nobody
you.
called me. Nobody told me about this.
Oops. A reminder, the news does not end here. We're live all day with breaking news, weather, and traffic.
On WCNC Plus.
Streaming live right now at 7 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson. Let's go to live pictures right now over the Queen City. Looks like it's trying to clear up, but more rain could be on the way. Meteorologist Chris Mulcahy joins us right now with your weather impact forecast. Chris.
And I'll prove it to you. Check it out. This is Dallas. Ooh, that rain is coming down. And the worst part about this is a slow mover. So the southwestern side of our viewing area, Cleveland, York, Gaston, parts of Lincoln County, dealing with widespread light to moderate rain. It's even borderline heavy from a few locations, so keep that in mind. So our Mr. Sparky Carolina camera network, not all of them are looking like wet cameras as we just saw for our view camera, but we are starting to head that general direction. So here's the rain. Look it out. You have some of those darker greens in here, which do represent a heftier rain rate. Now, it's still not all that much. You would get about 0.15 of an inch per hour, but that's still enough that it's going to keep the windshield wipers busy. And off towards the southwest, you can see some of these spots of yellow that are going to be moving in as well. This generally is going to push its way further off towards the northeast, but as it heads this general direction, what's going to happen is it's going to start to die out as it crosses the I-77 corridor, and then we have a unique setup. This is much like what we had yesterday, that as it crosses the Charlotte area, you could have a quick shower, but then it has enough energy that it starts driving up a shower or storm or two. We have multiple rounds of rain possible, but it's impossible to pinpoint when you will see a shower depending where you are. And let me show you. There's the span of rain. This model is doing a great job picking up on the now. That's how I usually start. If it's looking like the now is correct, means the later is usually going to be pretty spot on. This has this right around the I-77 corridor, so the western side of the 485 loop, so Paw Creek, Mount Holly, Belmont. You're seeing soaking conditions, I would say, over the next 30 to 45 minutes. Charlotte should be seeing this over the next hour or so, but by about 9 to 10, it's east of Charlotte. And at this point, once we get a little bit of sunshine, the clouds start to break, we still have the energy here. So that could drive up a few showers and thunderstorms, I think, starting right around the I-77 corridor. But you live in our eastern zone, you have the best chance for a thunderstorm to close out the morning, because I think this will re-energize itself right around Albemarle, and then we'll have a spotty, isolated thunderstorm here and there through the afternoon, heading into the evening, where it's actually the late afternoon heading into the evening. I think you have a secondary burst. So if you have any plans, say around Charlotte, I would really factor in a chance for rain either side of noon. We take a break, and then to end the afternoon and begin the evening, you're going to have another round. But it really depends. Taking the 485 loop, for example, that's 67 miles of road around Charlotte that the southern parts could be dry, but the northern parts could be pouring for up to an hour. It just really depends. That's how isolated this action is going to be. But I think it could be a conveyor belt that some areas could see over an inch of rain by the end of the evening. We also have a low chance for a severe potential. This is very low. We had this yesterday, but I wouldn't be surprised if we will have a few severe thunderstorm warnings, warning that you could have some hail. We actually did have some reports of some pea-sized hail yesterday and some localized flooding. So I want you to keep that in mind. I think the biggest issue that we have here is, since these are slow moving, they kind of come out of nowhere, they can literally form above your head. That quick downpour is going to be the biggest issue as you're out and about driving around. Today also is feeling sticky to humid. Once again, we had this yesterday, but you start to get in that uncomfortable range by Friday and Saturday. So it's a lot more air you can wear at that point, and that will slightly influence our rain chances. I think tomorrow looks to be perfectly dry, so no multiple rounds of rain, but Friday and Saturday, I think it's really the typical summertime pattern that by the end of the day, a thunderstorm or shower could start to bubble up. And then Friday has a few pulses of rain that start to work their way in. And then Saturday, same thing goes. End of the day, heading through the evening, you have a chance for rain before we head into another drying trend. Saturday has a slightly better chance, I think, because a front is pushing into the area. Notice the high temperature for the week, 89 degrees to around 90. We have a chance that we could touch that 90-degree point, but the cloud cover might keep us from that. And then rocking the mid-80s with drier conditions, still staying on the humid side heading into next week. Majestic, how are we starting the 7 o'clock hour traffic-wise?
Well, it's been a busy morning, that's for sure. We've been tracking this one specific accident for over an hour now. It's on I-77 northbound lanes. Now, the accident has been cleared. You can still see some emergency responders off to the side and some news crews as well, but traffic is just moving very slowly at this point. It's between Woodlawn Road and Tyvola, so if you typically travel that way, way. You're going to want to allow for a few extra minutes to get to where you need to be because traffic is moving so slowly. Starting to see those rain showers move in right along I-85 over towards Gastonia, heading towards Mount Holly. So slow it down if your morning commute is taking you in from that direction. I want to still talk about the area where we have those big backups on I-77 where that car actually overturned earlier this morning, and you can see traffic isn't even moving at 20 miles an hour. We have a new accident that just popped up. This is on Albemarle Road at W.T. Harris Boulevard. We're seeing those slowdowns there, anywhere from about medium to slow impacts. And then just north of Charlotte, this ongoing accident, a crash at Beatties Ford Road at I-85. Ben.
Thanks. 7:05 right now here on WCNC Plus, and the suspect in that recent Dilworth house explosion is set to be extradited back here to Charlotte after he allegedly caused the explosion on purpose earlier this month. Authorities arrested the homeowner, Michael Barnett, in Chicago Friday. That explosion damaged 2 nearby homes, and now neighbors tell us they're searching for new ones. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane now live for us this morning. Richard, neighbors hope the city will help that street recover from all this.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct, Ben. Good morning to you. Good Wednesday morning, everyone. Basically, on the day that this happened, I spoke to at least one resident, actually 2 residents, who were worried and concerned about the owner of this house, worried about if he was inside at the time of the explosion. They were happy to find out he wasn't inside at the time of the explosion, but then, of course, you can tell they're dismayed to find out that police are saying he's the one responsible. This is just a bunch of rubble now. Just this explosion also caused damage to the houses on either side. Those folks say they're forced to move. All this as the man responsible, the homeowner, now in police custody. This is the person we're talking about. 41-year-old Michael Edward Barnett was arrested in Chicago on May 10th as a fugitive from justice out of North Carolina. Authorities say Barnett owned the home here on Lombardi Circle, which went up in flames earlier this month. It took about 60 firefighters about an hour and a half to hour 15 minutes, I should say, to get the fire under control. This after that explosion that rocked this neighborhood. The impacts of that explosion were felt blocks away. Investigators quickly determined the fire was intentionally set, calling it arson, but didn't release any other details because of this ongoing investigation. We spoke to a number of neighbors, and at least one of them says she's pleased to know that the person who was responsible has been arrested.
Mostly relieved that he has been apprehended, that we know where he is, and that we don't have to worry about whether there would be a possible future act of violence against the street or against someone else. What we really want to have happen is that in this situation, they come out and make sure that this, what most likely is a toxic waste dump, that it be appropriately handled. Because when it rains, whatever's in here is going to go right down our street into Sugar Creek.
And if you heard Chris just a few minutes ago talking about the weather, we're expecting more rain, and of course neighbors here want this cleaned up. As for Barnett, the extradition process has begun. We'll keep you updated and tell you when he arrives back here in the Tar Heel State. We're in Dilworth. This is Richard Devane. We'll send it back to you.
Yeah, Richard, more on that right now. We know he's been arrested. He's in Chicago. Do we know anything about the process that it's going to take to bring him back? Is this a 2 or 3 day process? Is this a several week process?
Yeah, it depends. Let's go over it real quick. Basically, whenever somebody is extradited, whenever there's a proceeding that goes on, they, in broad terms, they go to that person and say, another place wants you to come back to face charges there. That person has the right to say initially, no, I don't want to, and then a hearing is held. And of course, after that hearing is held, they can say that person then has to go back. Or they can say, okay, I'll go back, and then it's a shorter process. So that's the steps that's why we say extradition process has begun. Their first step is to say, we want this person to come back. Law enforcement wants that person to come back. That person does have the right to say no or yes. If they say yes, they go back immediately. If they say no, there's a short hearing, or a hearing is scheduled, and then after that hearing, usually, most times, they're brought back to that jurisdiction anyway.
A lot of those neighbors want some sort of justice as they move forward. All right, Richard, thank you for that. Appreciate it. 7:09 right now on WCNC Plus. An East Charlotte community on edge this morning after ICE agents detained a parent who was dropping off a student at school. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre has details on the growing calls for CMS to take a tougher stance.
It was a routine school drop-off that quickly turned into a stressful one when a parent was detained by federal agents. And now community leaders are demanding change. A parent bringing their child to school Monday suddenly stopped and taken by ICE.
It's extremely concerning when we have a parent who is doing their parent duty and taking their child to school and doing what they have to do, what's best for their child, being detained.
It happened off Albemarle Road in East Charlotte, just a few blocks from the Charlotte East Language Academy.
As somebody's taking their kid to school next to a school ground where a majority of those kids are Spanish speaking and are likely from immigrant families, it sends a message and it only reinforces that fear.
Representative Jordan Lopez says the incident is unacceptable and harmful.
The long-term impacts that has on somebody's mental health, their feeling of security and stability, and more over their feeling of being welcomed in a community in the first place.
The Carolina Migrant Network was also alerted about the incident and says these kinds of detentions hit families hard.
Data shows us that when a parent is detained, within 6 months, 70% of the income of that household is lost.
The group is a resource for legal support.
Children have the right to go to school regardless of their status. People have rights regardless of their status, and that is what is protected under our Constitution.
Community leaders calling for school leaders to step in.
Calling on the school board, for example, to make sure that things like this are harder for ICE to make sure that our students are protected and that the environment that they're going to go learn in is that they feel secure, that they feel safe, that they feel supported.
In East Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Charlotte City Attorney now says there will be a full investigation into alleged corruption within the City Council. The City Attorney Anthony Fox says he's going to investigate who leaked details about a closed-door vote, calling it grounds for a misdemeanor. But we spoke with another attorney here in town who tells us the charges are not up to Fox. They also say his investigation might be at odds with the First Amendment, which encourages public officials to speak up.
It's important to know that the city attorney is not prosecutor. So it would be up to the prosecutor in Mecklenburg County to make decisions about that sort of thing. You reach a point where the informational content that we're talking about, meaning the political value of it, could be in tension with the statute.
Some argue that statute doesn't apply since it doesn't involve the sharing of a physical file. No word yet on whether a prosecutor could move forward with that case. 7:12 right now on WCNC Plus. Topping national headlines this morning, a big decision in the Menendez brothers case. After spending 35 years in prison for the murder of their parents, Lyle and Eric are now eligible for parole. NBC's Jay Gray takes a closer look at what changed.
Good evening, and after a stunning series of events inside this courtroom tonight, Eric and Lyle Menendez do have a shot at walking out of prison. The brothers sentenced to life without the chance of parole for the 1989 murders of their parents now have had that sentence reduced by Superior Court Judge Michael Jessic. It comes after a day that was filled with, at times, emotional testimony, evidence, and arguing back and forth. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office saying that the brothers haven't shown full remorse or taken full responsibility for the murders and were trying to stop them from being resentenced and possibly released from prison. But the judge said that he was impressed most in all of this by an outpouring of support from within the prison and corrections system. Lead attorney for the Menendez brothers with his family gathered on the court steps immediately after the judge's decision.
We have evolved. This is not the 90s anymore. We have a more robust understanding of a lot of things. The fact is, the Menendez brothers have done remarkable work, and today is a great day after 35 years.
Immediately after the judge made his ruling, the Menendez brothers had a chance to address the court. Lyle spoke first, saying, and I'm quoting here, "I killed my mom and dad. I make no excuses. I take full responsibility." Next up to speak was Eric, and at times his video feed was interrupted by technical issues, but he did say, "My actions were criminal, selfish, cruel, and cowardly. I have no excuse, no justification for what I did. I take full responsibility for my crimes." The next step in all this is the parole board weighing in. The brothers are immediately eligible for parole, but they're also being considered for clemency by the governor. That's the very latest in what was a busy, surprising day from the courthouse here. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News, Los Angeles.
The ex-girlfriend of Sean, Diddy Combs, expected to take the stand again today after testifying yesterday in his sex trafficking trial. Cassie Ventura testified that Diddy forced her to participate in days-long, drug-filled sex parties, referred often as freak-offs. She also went into detail about alleged physical abuse. Diddy has denied allegations against him. In Paris, the trial continues for today for the men accused of robbing Kim Kardashian at gunpoint in 2016. NBC's Ralph Sanchez has a closer look at the Kardashians' emotional testimony on the stand.
Kim Kardashian growing repeatedly emotional as she took the witness stand inside of this Paris court. She's testifying against the 10 people accused of tying her up, holding her at gunpoint, and robbing her of nearly $10 million in diamonds and jewels back in 2016. She has said this was the most terrifying moment of her life, that she feared that she might be raped and then killed when these two armed robbers dressed in police uniforms and wearing ski masks burst into the luxury apartment where she was staying in those early hours. Now, the 10 defendants on trial, 9 men, 1 woman, are known as the Grandpa Gang because many of them were in their 60s or 70s at the time of the crime. In France, defendants do not plead guilty or not guilty, but 2 of the accused have already acknowledged their role in the heist. One of them, a 68-year-old man known as Old Omar, who is deaf and mute, had a letter of apology that he wrote to Kardashian read out in court. Kardashian growing emotional as she said that she forgave him, but that his actions had changed her life forever. Ralph Sanchez, NBC News, Paris.
Turning now to some weather headlines. In this morning, parts of Virginia and Maryland recovering from serious flooding. Take a look at the water that flooded a Maryland elementary school. This is in Westernport near the Maryland-West Virginia border. About 150 students and 50 teachers were trapped on the second floor of the school yesterday, and they say the water almost reached them. Crews had to use rescue boats to help some of those folks evacuate. First responders made about 15 rescue boat trips to get everybody out safely. A close call there. Thankfully, we're not dealing with anything like that, but we are getting a good soaking again today. Chris joins us once again with your weather impact forecast.
And that type of event doesn't just happen in one day. Yeah, you can oftentimes have just widespread rain that creates these things, but Maryland's been getting just constant rain, just as we've been dealing with recently. And they've had a lot more rain in general outside of the drought criteria that we've had. So scenarios like this happen, especially where your local rivers and streams, day after day after day rain, those banks get so full they swell, and then you have scenarios that look like this. And we even had a couple of roads go underwater yesterday from the rain, a quick downpour, and then we're also priming things right now. It's raining right here at our Dallas camera, and if you look really closely, you can see the thunderstorm off into the distance, kind of forming a roll cloud off of this, showing that we have a decent amount of instability already earlier on this morning. Nothing that's severe with this, but a pretty decent downpour overall. Over here in Monroe, just some upper level clouds, usually the precursor before we have a thunderstorm system starting to roll in. Estimated rainfall, as we were seeing over the last 48 hours for parts of Maryland, really upwards to about 3 to 5 inches, but we did see some locations in Virginia that even had over 7 inches of rain over the last couple of days. For us, it really just depends. Of course, we were reporting up to about 5 to 6 inches of rain up in the mountains, a lot more rain over in South Carolina. So by tomorrow, we're going to have a new updated drought monitor. Should happen right after our update update between 7 and 9 here on WCNC Plus, but I guarantee at least half of the Carolinas should be either downgraded or removed from abnormally dry or even that drought status. So here's what's going on right now. The rain that I was just showing you in our Gastonia to Dallas camera, now light to moderate rain pushing into Mount Holly. It's the western side of the 485 loop. So Charlotte, you're about to be impacted. Already starting to see some rain cross I-77 here. All this rain continuing to push its way off towards the north and east, so you can expect widespread rain now. Kings Mountain, Gastonia, Mount Holly, Huntersville for the next hour or two. Now, I think eventually this is going to die out. You can see here for our Doppler radar what we saw yesterday. I'm showing you this because I think we're going to see a very similar situation today. So here, I'm going to let this reset. By 7 o'clock yesterday, we were seeing some rain come from the southwest, expanded across Charlotte, and then it flourished into thunderstorms east of I-77. More storms popped up, and then more came from the west. I want to show you our futurecast. It's very similar. The only difference is that we're seeing rain a little bit earlier as far as that rain to the southwest. It's spreading across the area. It'll push into the Charlotte area. This is about an hour behind, so it's 7:20 right now. I think where we are as far as the western zones, showing that it's about 30 minutes late, but still showing that that rain is going to start to die out. Should be in our northeastern area around Salisbury by about 10 o'clock, and then at that point, we're starting to see some pop-up showers and thunderstorms from the outflow of this system. So we're going to have a chance for spotty storms, especially east of I-77 again, but it's either side of I-77. I would say between about 11 to 2, they're going to have a chance for those rounds of thunderstorms. Meanwhile, storms start to flourish further off towards the west. They swoop to the southeast, so you have a chance for rain realistically throughout the day, but I think you're going to have more dry hours than wet ones. But when it does rain, it could pour for up to an hour, seeing those multiple cells head into the evening as well, pretty isolated by the time the sun is setting. So this is called the outflow boundary. What happens whenever you have that downpour, that colder rain, all that cooler air from the cloud comes down. It actually forms what's called the cold pool. That forms what's called the gust front, or almost a mini cold front. This is what usually picks up the winds before a thunderstorm starts to roll in. Well, that can race out from the storm, and if it drives into a warm and humid day like we had yesterday, like we're going to have today, it pops up another shower or a storm. Now, this is a weaker version than what we usually have during the summertime, but that's the case in scenario. Tomorrow, we will not have this setup. The reason why we're actually seeing this elevated today is because we do have a weak trough across the area. We'll take a break from the rain before we start to see more isolated scattered showers and thunderstorms for your Friday and your Saturday. And now I think most of the PGA at Quail Hollow will stay dry. It's just that usual summertime pattern with the mid to the late afternoon having a chance for those towering cumulus clouds that could turn over to a thunderstorm. Right around 90 degrees on Friday, by the way, so we have a lot of heat and humidity. Once that cap breaks, that's where the storms can break as well. I really think our best chances for rain are late Friday heading into the evening, and then again Saturday late heading into Sunday morning, and then Sunday and beyond should be a little bit drier, also a little less humid in the mid 80s. And I have to mention one more thing here, that Friday and Saturday, those are our most humid days of the week. So 89 could actually feel more like 91, 92 degrees for some. Majestic, how's traffic faring?
It's definitely picking up on this Wednesday morning, and now we're starting to see some wet roadways as well. So just take it easy, factor that in as you're heading out the door. Here's I-77 at Nations Ford Road. You can see traffic is steady there. Want to break down a few of our accidents that are currently ongoing. I want to take you to I-77 because this has been my watch spot all morning long, especially those inbound lanes. Earlier we had an accident there that really backed up traffic. It has since been cleared, but we're still seeing those impacts. Traffic is just really crawling at this point. Another ongoing accident at Albemarle Road at W.T. Harris Boulevard. We're seeing medium moving traffic there, and then heading up to the north, just north of Charlotte, there's currently a crash on Beatties Ford Road at I-85. Again, still a very active live weather map and live traffic map here, so just keep that in mind. We have those scattered rain showers that are really starting to move in, and then again, here's our last accident that I want to let you know about. It's on Highway 521 at Johnston Road, where it intersects at I-485. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. Time now, 7:23 here on WCNC Plus. A team at MIT developing really a game changer for women going through IVF. Right now, families who use IVF must typically take daily hormone injections. Well, now researchers have developed a patch that you'd wear that uses ultrasonic waves to help fluid penetrate the skin. Doctors say this new treatment could help make the process more comfortable.
Instead of having very painful and stressful shots on your abdominal skin, this technology with no needle association will enable you to be having those hormones in timely manner in your body.
Researchers say the technology also has the potential to be used to deliver treatments for skin conditions like age spots, dark spots, and burns. Once we hit the age of 40, our brains begin to shrink up to 5% every 10 years. And new research this morning finds that we could be accelerating that shrinkage by sitting around too much. The study shows older adults who spent most of their time sitting had faster brain shrinkage and mental decline. Researchers say this is also true among those who regularly worked out. So what are you left to do? It's kind of confusing. The new findings challenge the long-held belief that regular exercise can make up for hours of sitting, but maybe not. All right, 7:25 right now. We're going to take a quick break as we take a live look right now over Uptown. Coming up in just 1 minute, another check of your forecast and your morning commute. And then we're back with the headlines coming up at 7:30 right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning, everyone. We have some active rain to start off the day. The western side of the 485 loop already seeing some active rain, so that means Uptown, you're about to see this. This is spreading its way further across the northeast, so all the 485 loop will have rain surrounding it over the next hour. We have our futurecast starting to flourish more storms by the late morning heading into the early afternoon, especially along the I-77 corridor heading into the eastern side of our viewing area. Notice this yellow, that is everyone that has a slight chance for a severe thunderstorm. Could even pop up a little bit of hail, some gusty winds, but certainly the heavier downpours and the bigger issue. We'll continue to see these on and off through this coming evening. High temperatures today right around 80 degrees like yesterday. Back to the 80s, but drier by tomorrow. Majestic rain starting to roll in.
We're seeing it across those area roadways as well. I want to show you this, though. I-77 at Tyvola. This is where we have had an active scene for the last couple of hours. Now, the accident has been cleared, but the backups are still there. Northbound lanes there. So keep that in mind if you typically travel that direction. Not just our live picture of this, our live video, but you can see it on our maps, too. All of this backup, that red is indicating how slow traffic is moving. And all of this green, of course, is the rain, like Chris said, is on the way. Already moving in over towards Lake Wiley and headed east, so just keep that in mind as you're heading out the door on this Wednesday morning. We'll have more on this on WCNC Plus coming up.
You are streaming live right now at 7:30 right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson. Happening today, Mecklenburg County leaders lay out exactly how they plan to spend your taxpayer dollars, from schools to public safety to property taxes. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards now live for us this morning. And Destiny, what do we know heading into today's meeting?
Well, later this morning, in just a couple of hours, actually, Dina Diorio, she's the county manager. She'll present a proposed version of the fiscal year budget for next year. And basically, this could affect everything from your property tax bill to how public services are going to operate in the next fiscal year in Mecklenburg County. Now, the 2026 budget will lay out spending priorities in areas like public safety, health, and education. As we've previously reported, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools is asking for more than $667 million in county funding, a $28 million increase to keep services running, boost staff pay, and support student learning. And this year, transportation is also in the spotlight. Charlotte leaders are counting on a 1-cent sales tax increase from the county to help fund its transit plan, which includes more buses and new rail lines. During discussions for the Charlotte City budget last week, officials discussed the importance of getting that sales tax on the November ballot.
We have 2,000 projects that we need to find a funding source for, and it just seems that having the sales tax makes a lot of sense because, one, it's immediate, and about 30% of it comes from people who don't live in Mecklenburg County.
Eyes are also on property taxes. Last year's rate held steady at 48.31 cents per $100 of value. So today we could learn if that ends up changing. Now, county commissioners will hear the budget presentation at 11 o'clock this morning. I'm going to take off my glasses because that's kind of distracting. They'll hear it at 11 o'clock this morning, and then later on there will be a couple of other steps. There'll be a public hearing May 22nd on the budget proposal, and then after that there's going to be a vote. I believe that's May 29th, and then the budget will be officially approved for the next fiscal year on June 3rd. I'll send it back to you guys live here from West Charlotte.
Raindrops on your glasses are the worst. Destiny, there's also, I know, a big focus on youth programs in this year's budget. What's the county planning to do on that front?
Yeah, so last month, the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council came forward to the Board of Commissioners, and they basically proposed $2 million for youth support programs, basically to combat juvenile crime. Some of those programs, it's 12 programs that they're hoping to support with this, and this would include CMPD's Youth Diversion Program and Addiction Treatment Services through the McLeod Center. And this would all be funded through the North Carolina Department of Public Safety. So there was some debate among the Board of Commissioners about this funding. They want it to go to the right places to help combat juvenile crime and crime in general, which has been an issue in the Charlotte area, Charlotte-Mecklenburg area. So we'll see how exactly that ends up allocating, if that's reflected in the budget proposal, but definitely something that will likely be a priority and something to watch on this budget presentation this morning.
All right, our taxpayer dollars at work. Destiny, thank you, appreciate that.
Hey, real quick, since we're unorthodox, Destiny, I don't know if you still hear me. I want to know where you are because I want to point out the intensity of the rain where we're seeing the glasses dripping. Are you still able to talk to us?
Yeah, we're in West Charlotte, just west of Uptown. So that's where we're at, just off of when you get off of I-277 near Freedom. So
All right, so
just west of Uptown.
So if you're going to be out and about and you wear glasses like Destiny, just letting you know that could be your case and scenario. So thanks a lot, Destiny. So let's get right to that. So it's right in here where you were seeing that. So where we have the glasses dripping weather, those are some of those darker greens. Darker greens is the upper level of light. It's really that light to moderate rain. That means it's just going to soak you. You can see her rain jacket just getting more and more drippy throughout that live shot there. And we have a lot of this that's starting to change over to yellow further off towards the west. So there will be some pockets of some some heavier rain in general. By meteorology terms, it's actually called moderate rainfall. Let's be honest, at that point it's pretty heavy, and then here you have the windshield wipers that are pretty much at its strongest point. This is rain is completely taken over Gaston County. Check this out. Dallas right now seeing a lot of rain come down so far. I'd say we'd had probably close to about 1/10 of an inch so far. Water droplets running down the camera lens, and the back side of this will continue to push its way further off towards the north and east. I will think that it'll start to weaken a little bit going forward, but the reason why we're seeing so much rain right here is the key to get a widespread rainfall is three things. You need the moisture, you need the warmer air, and you need some sort of front or something to drive it upwards. And with that stationary front here, that's going to drive all this rain to the north and east. However, because the way that this works, different outflows could also pop up some more storms as we work our way into the afternoon. And this front will actually drag in a low pressure system. That's going to drag in another round of showers and storms. So today's a little bit more complex than what we had yesterday. We actually have a few drivers that'll keep storms around through the overnight, even heading into tomorrow morning. So one change in the forecast I am seeing, I wouldn't be surprised if we do have a sneak rain shower coming from the northwest to start off your Thursday. Oftentimes this time of year, heading into the summertime, you can have a decaying severe weather event, say up in the Ohio Valley. It can make its way towards the Appalachian Mountains and then even past it heading into the Charlotte area. So that's going to be a case and scenario by tomorrow. This is where we're at right now. Our futurecast is lining up perfectly, showing that rain will be directly over the Charlotte area really within the next 30 minutes. It's already here. You saw it with Destiny, but I'm talking about the entirety of the 485 loop. It'll pass its way further off towards the north and east. I think we start to see some lighter rain or at least a drier end to this by about 10 o'clock across the 485 loop. And then at this point, we're starting to see some breaks in the clouds, some sunshine. But at that point, since we still have the front that's active here and the outflows coming from the storm, we just learned about that over the last half hour, that can pop up more showers and storms. And if you were, say, around, I think it was about 1 to 2 o'clock, anywhere here on the eastern side, southern part of Mecklenburg County, Cabarrus County, boy, did you see a downpour. It was really tough to see in front of you. Multiple accidents actually popped up right around that time. It's usually within the first 15 minutes of heavy rain that we have the most incidents for a rain event. So keep that stat in mind as you're driving out and about. So I'm really worried about the heavier rain, also the lightning that could come with this. But you see scattered showers and thunderstorms all over, ending the morning, heading into the afternoon. And then after that, we start to see showers and storms develop on the western side of our viewing area, pushing its way further off towards the east. So I think Charlotte, all in all, could potentially have rain over the next few hours. You take a break, a thunderstorm, you take a break, and then mid to late afternoon, more storms start to roll in, and they're still going to be sticking around heading into your evening hours as well, as you see a little branch here coming from the north and west. So we're really not done. Some of us might even hear some rumbles of thunder past midnight, depending where you are. There's the lowest end chance for a severe storm today. We saw this yesterday. A few severe thunderstorm warnings could be warned mainly for large hail, but a chance for some gustier winds. But that heavier rain is the biggest nuisance that we have associated with this. Yesterday was a little bit sticky. Today's pretty much similar. Yesterday we had a high of 79. Today we have a high of 80 degrees. Still a little bit of stickiness to start off the day, but we don't have that front around tomorrow, so it's not as good of a rain chance. By Friday heading into Saturday, another front starts to return. So I think by the late day, we're going to have a better chance for those showers and storms to return to the forecast. So our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, which isn't popping up for me, will show those better rain chances for your Friday heading into Saturday. At that point, that's where you can start to see this activity start to roll in. We're streaming right now, so I'm just physically going to walk over and manually trigger this 7-day forecast that's being a little bit stubborn for me. Hold on one second. There it is. Should be in 3, 2, 1. Seeing 89 degrees on Friday, right around 90 degrees, but it'll feel more like the lower 90s, factoring in that moisture content. After that, I think once you get this front out of here, we're going to be a little bit cooler in the lower to the mid 80s on Sunday. This will dry things out a little less humid in the mid 80s heading into next week, but this really shows our new average is now 80 degrees for May. The 80s are going to become a popular point. We're still waiting on our first 90-degree point, but hey, I think Friday's close enough. Get ready for more of a summertime pattern, and that's exactly what we have to end the week and start the weekend. So that rain likely going to affect your morning commute. Let's see how it is so far with Majestic.
All right, good Wednesday morning to you. Let's take a look at some of our live traffic cameras. You can see I-77 here in northern York County. We're starting to see some of those raindrops move in, and some of those area roadways definitely becoming wet at this point. And also noticing that traffic is slow moving as we're heading towards the Charlotte metro area. In addition to that, though, this is I-77 at Oaklawn Ave. You can see most of our cars aren't having any major concerns, nothing out of the ordinary there. But as they're looking at our live traffic maps, we still do have that big backup. Really earlier this morning along I-77, we had that overturned vehicle that had since been cleared, but still those impacts are there. This is already an area where we typically see that congestion, but cars aren't even moving 10 miles an hour out that direction. An ongoing accident that we've mentioned a couple of times now at Albemarle Road at W.T. Harris. You can see the yellow and the orange popping up, indicating slow to medium traffic because of that ongoing accident. And another one here. There's a crash at Beatties Ford Road at I-85. Keep that in mind. Let's highlight one last one. There's a crash on Highway 521. That's Johnston Road at I-45, and we're starting to see those backups there. Ben.
Majestic, thanks. 7:40 right now, and we are learning new information this morning about a shooting at a Charlotte Popeyes. A restaurant manager facing charges this morning after he allegedly shot his coworker during an argument over biscuits. 22-year-old Rodney Wood is charged with attempted first-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon. The shooting happened Sunday night at a store on South Boulevard. The victim was taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Wood remains in jail under a $500,000 bond. New this morning, a federal judge in Charlotte will hear arguments today for a lawsuit filed by Shanquella Robinson's mother. She's suing the FBI and U.S. State Department over claims they failed to properly investigate her daughter's death in Mexico. Shanquella died back in 2022 while on a trip with friends. Investigators initially blamed alcohol poisoning, but a death certificate shows she died from a spinal cord injury and broken neck. Video also shows Robinson being attacked by someone on the trip with her shortly before her death. The government asking for the case to be dismissed, claiming there isn't enough evidence to prosecute. Today's hearing will determine if that lawsuit will move forward. President Trump continues his visit to the Middle East today, traveling to Qatar after announcing deals in Saudi Arabia and ending sanctions in Syria. The trip comes amid controversy over the country's offered gift to President Trump, a luxury jumbo jet that is drawing criticism for both sides of the aisle. NBC's Alice Barr has details from Washington.
President Trump meeting with leaders from the Gulf Cooperation Council in Saudi Arabia this morning as he works to strengthen business ties with the region's wealthy states. On Tuesday, announcing the Saudis are set to buy $142 billion worth of American military equipment, part of a promised $600 billion investment in the U.S.
We've launched the golden age of America. The golden age of the Middle East can proceed right alongside of us.
President Trump pushing Iran to abandon its nuclear program while ending sanctions against Syria's new government.
To give them a chance at greatness.
At the urging of Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince.
Oh, what I do for the Crown Prince.
Hanging over the trip, major real estate projects the Trump organization led by the president's sons is developing in the countries he's visiting, including Qatar, where he's headed next, with controversy brewing over the Qatari government's not yet finalized offer of a luxury jet gifted to the Pentagon to serve as Air Force One, then transfer to the Trump Presidential Library at the end of his term.
I thought it was a beautiful gesture. Now, there are those that say we shouldn't be accepting gifts to the Defense Department, and I would say only a stupid person would say that.
A growing number of Republicans raising concerns about accepting a $400 million foreign gift and the costly upgrades needed for national security.
There are lots of issues around that I think will attract very serious questions if and when it happens.
The Senate's top Democrat vowing to put a hold on all judicial nominees until the Attorney General testifies about the gift's legal questions. President Trump's decision to lift Syrian sanctions and meet with its president, a former al-Qaeda member, is not his only break with previous administrations this trip. In a speech, he denounced past interventions in the Middle East, saying the people there should decide their own future. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Well, there's a new push this morning to keep critical funds flowing for 9/11 survivors with medical issues. Advocates say federal funding cuts are putting the World Trade Center health program at risk. The program provides medical treatment for first responders and survivors. It's really been a key resource for tens of thousands of people exposed to the toxic dust and debris since 2001. But now advocates say the program's fate is in limbo.
Since that time, I've encountered prostate cancer, been treated for it 3 times, and then had skin cancer twice. It's concerning. It's my understanding that there's people that are just now getting signed up for it and can't get treatments because of those cutbacks.
Lawyers and advocates hope to see lawmakers support future funding to keep the program active through at least 2090. Right now, a local food pantry facing a crisis after a major cut in federal funding. Common Heart Food Pantry is one of several nonprofits hit by a 50% cut in funding. Now, Union County's largest food assistance network is scrambling to meet high demand. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris now live in Union County for us this morning. Union, and Miles, how do they plan to adjust? I mean, they can only do so much. They weren't expecting this.
No, this is definitely coming out of left field for them, Ben. For starters, staff and volunteers with Common Heart, they say that really when it comes to this whole situation, that this really feels like a gut punch to the changes that they're facing. Now, Common Heart, they serve thousands of people each and every month, but now they got to find new ways to do that with half the amount of food.
Something that we were used to having so much of, just all of a sudden be gone is bad. It caught us by surprise. Okay, I can do that.
Ryan Colby, the pantry director with Common Heart, admits everything changed in an instant. In late April, they were informed of a 50% cut in federal funding for the Emergency Food Assistance Program.
That amounted to about 400,000 pounds of food for us last year. So now we're looking at 200,000 pounds of food. So it's a major source of a lot of the food that we distribute.
Without help from federal funds, his team is actively looking for other sources of support to help bridge this unexpected gap.
We can concentrate on staple items. We can try to make sure that, we always have, a can of tuna for anybody that comes through, beans or noodles or rice, things like that.
This cut comes at a crucial time. Common Heart says that they serve around 8,000 people each month, a record high.
It's gonna be tough for the neighbors who came through expecting to get some assistance because every dollar that they don't have to spend on food is money that they can spend on gas or keeping their car running or paying their rent, and we want to help people.
So if you're wondering, how can you help? Well, a couple things. One, Common Heart is asking for members of the community to actually reach out to members of Congress that represent you and tell them that you have concerns when it comes to these federal funding cuts. The other thing you can do is donate to food pantries like Common Heart. Now, for more information on that, you can actually head to our WCNC Charlotte mobile app, clicking on this story and getting all that information and more, but really a big adjustment when it comes to their efforts and their missions and really trying to fight that food insecurity. Guys.
And Miles, you mentioned they serve about 8,000 people a month. Give us some perspective here. Is that normal? Is that more than usual? Less than usual?
Yeah, Ben, that's actually the record high. And again, this really comes at that crucial time when it comes to that federal funding cut. Really not the good timing when it comes to that when they're dealing with thousands of mouths and families that they're trying to really take care of and feed. So they do have other sources when it comes to trying to find food, when it comes to their donors, other food grocery stores, things like that have been helpful. But when you talk about that amount of food that they had last year, really a big hole and really a big help that's needed moving forward for them as well.
Yeah, it couldn't be a worse time for them. All right, Miles, thank you. 7:48 right now, live on WCNC Plus, and this week's weather has been less than ideal for golfers and fans at the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. And weather conditions, as you know, play a crucial role in every shot you take out on the course. WCNC Charlotte's meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees raising our weather IQ this morning on how to stay ahead of Mother Nature's game.
In golf, the elements are always in play, and with any outdoor sporting event, weather is a big influence. Here are the 3 main weather components that can take your shot from a birdie to a triple bogey: wind, rain, temperature. A strong gust of wind can easily wreck an amateur golfer's shot, but it can trip up the pros too.
The wind
will determine what club you're going to use on a certain hole. If it's left to right or right to left, or is in their face.
PGA meteorologist Stuart Williams says even a 5-mile-per-hour wind plays a role if the drive is hundreds of yards. The longer the drive, the bigger the impact. With rain, light showers are more of a nuisance.
Because now you got to worry about the umbrella, carrying the umbrella, having a towel to wipe your clubs off every time you go to hit the ball.
Moisture on a golf ball causes additional drag, which means you'll need to adjust your swing. You're worse off in a downpour. Heavy rain can lead to puddles on the course, which can end your game.
If it gets heavy enough to where you start getting the rivers down the fairways, then obviously you can't play.
And don't forget to consider temperature when scheduling your tee time. Pros and amateur golfers alike have better form and flexibility when it's warm. Plus, colder air means you'll need multiple layers, leading to a restricted swing. Cold air is also denser than warm air, which creates more friction on a golf ball. Former USGA Technical Director Frank Thomas says the difference is about 2 yards of carry for every 10-degree change. So theoretically, if you play at 60 degrees in the morning versus 80 degrees in the afternoon, you're looking at a 4-yard loss. Science says the perfect weather for a round of golf is a sunny sky, lows in the upper 50s, highs in the upper 70s, and a light wind. Sounds like a hole-in-one to me. With your Weather IQ, I'm meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees.
That is not our forecast.
Yeah, and the thing is, we got so many people here, and the city shows off so well when the weather cooperates, but
The last few days you haven't been doing too great, Chris.
Nope.
That's right.
Today's going to be a little better, I guess, but I feel like no matter if the weather's perfect or pouring down rain, my golf game is never really that great.
I like when the weather's bad because I can blame it on something.
That's right.
But then there's a lot of people who also want to watch, and it's much more enjoyable to watch when it's sunny
to the
and
point
nice.
on Monday, they actually told folks to stay home, don't come out because the weather was so bad.
So bad. And it was all day rain. Now we're actually dealing with a chance for rain. Well, it's not really even a chance. Check this out. It's 80% coverage right now heading into the 8 o'clock hour. So if you're planning on heading down there, not great. You will see a mix of cloud and sunshine like you see in the background there eventually, but then we're gonna have a chance for storms late day heading into the afternoon, and then we'll take a break, and then another chance for storms, and then we'll take a break. For the PGA Championship, the actual start Thursday, I think there is a chance for rain in the morning right around sunrise. After that, we clear out. We'll see a mix of cloud and sunshine. That looks to be a dry afternoon. Friday and Saturday, pop-up showers and thunderstorms are possible, but that's really hit or miss. And Friday, really warm. Look at that. Temperatures near 90 degrees. That is right now trending to be our warmest day of the year. And then on top of that, it's actually going to be quite humid as well, sliding down in the lower to the mid 80s by about Sunday. And as far as those winds are concerned, they'll mainly be out of the southwest for the near future, but potentially quite gusty. So this could affect the golf game. Gusts up to about 25 to 30 miles per hour on Saturday. There's your PGA Championship forecast. Coming up over the next half hour, I'll get to a little bit more about the rain, how it's affecting you with the on and off shower and storm chance through this afternoon. Majestic?
All right, let's take a look at some of those drive times because they're really starting to pick up if you're coming in from Waxhaw to Charlotte. Look at this, 73 minutes to get you there. From Gastonia to Charlotte, just over 1 hour. I want to show you a live look outside, just like what Chris was saying. Those area roadways are now becoming wet because of those rain showers that are heading our way or that are already here, just depending on where you are. Want to highlight this ongoing incident. It's a disabled vehicle. It's on the Billy Graham Parkway. Northbound lanes are being impacted by that. It's actually a stalled vehicle, so it's right there between Billy Graham Parkway and Highway 160 West Boulevard. Starting to see some red pop up there. In addition to that, another one at Westington House Boulevard. There's another stalled vehicle, and traffic is just struggling to move, not even 10 miles an hour. All right, let's get to this final one. There's a crash on Albemarle Road at W.T. Harris Boulevard. You can see the yellows and the oranges just indicating a slowdown there. We'll have another check at your traffic coming up.
It's time for today's Tiny Town, which is in York County in South Carolina, just to the south of Clover and northwest of Rock Hill in South Carolina. The historical marker says Sharon, the town of Sharon actually grew up around and took its name from Sharon Associate Reformed Presbyterian Church and was incorporated all the way back into 1889. Sharon, South Carolina, York County. Total area is 1.31 square miles. A very small tiny town. In fact, population is 462. So today's tiny town, once again, in York County in South Carolina. The town is Sharon, and that's today's tiny town. I'm Larry Sprinkle.
you fly, it's well known that your phone should be in airplane mode once the plane takes off. But have you ever wondered why? And what happens if you don't do it? Well, according to pilots, nothing major is going to happen if your phone isn't switched to airplane mode. But there's still a reason to do it anyway. Experts say even if it's just 3 or 4 phones that are on airplane mode, sometimes it can mess with the pilot's headsets. This would make it harder for them to talk to control towers and get the plane safely to the ground. Nobody wants that. The FAA has had rules regarding cell phones in skies since 1991. So not a bad idea to go ahead and turn on airplane mode, give yourself a chance to unplug. That's always a good thing as well. And it just sounds like it's safer. I will say there's been a time or two that I've fallen asleep as soon as I got on the plane and I've forgotten, but other than that.
It's interesting to know, though, because I've always been curious, like, why do we have to do it? We've always been taught since we were young, I guess, or however old you were when you got on an airplane to turn it on. But now, you know, it can mess with their headsets.
Yeah, I thought it was like, this isn't real anymore, but I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't take any chances. Can't hurt, right?
Mm-mm. No, and I mentioned this earlier. I literally went a whole couple of days just thinking that I didn't have. Nobody was messaging me.
Nobody cared about you.
That's why you didn't message me back.
Yes. That's because I'm neglectful with messages. But then all of a sudden I was like, oh yeah, I turned it on, then bloop, 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 bloop.
Yeah.
A whole other
nice
problem.
Little break sometimes.
That's right.
That's probably more of a scatterbrain problem.
More Chris specific.
Yeah.
Let's take a live look right now over Uptown. Coming up in less than a minute, we've got another check of your forecast and traffic. Then we're back with the headlines at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, it is pouring right now, and we have temperatures right around the 65 degrees in Charlotte. Not everyone is seeing rain, but certainly widespread. Gastonia, everyone there is seeing rain, and it's starting to clear on the backside here at Cleveland County, where it's been very active so far. This will continue to push its way further off towards the north and east, but we're seeing something interesting. We're even seeing a few showers that are starting to isolate themselves. I think as we progress through the morning, this system, especially in the eastern viewing area, could pop up a thunderstorm or two. Quickly on and off rain expected through the rest of today. High temperatures right around 80 degrees. So almost a carbon copy of what we had yesterday. Tonight, temperatures dropping down into the mid-60s. I think we also could have some overnight rain and some thunderstorms. So literally we could have rain, take a break, rain, take a break, rain, take a break. You get that? See the rhythm of the next couple of days. Tomorrow, I think you could have a little bit of morning rain right around sunrise, but we should be drier for the afternoon. Majestic?
All right, those area roadways are definitely becoming wet, so make sure you take it nice and slow as you're heading out the door. I want to get to this new accident that's just coming in. It's an injury accident blocking right and center lanes. It's inbound North Tryon Street before Sugar Creek Road, so we're already starting to see medium congestion here. I do have a picture that I'm going to show you coming up on WCNC Plus. Hope to see you then.
Streaming live right now at 8 a.m. right here on WCNC Plus. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Ben Thompson. The suspect in that recent Dilworth house explosion set to be extradited back here to Charlotte. He allegedly caused that explosion on purpose earlier this month on Lombardi Circle. Authorities arrested the home's owner, Michael Barnett. You see him right there in Chicago Friday. The explosion damaged 2 nearby homes, and now neighbors tell us they're searching for new homes. WCNC Charlotte's Richard Devane live for us this morning. And Richard, the frustration and anger that these neighbors must feel being sort of innocent bystanders to all of this. I know a lot of them hoping the city can help that street recover.
That's absolutely correct, Ben. That is absolutely correct. You got to understand another thing about it on this Wednesday morning. A lot of the neighbors here were concerned about Michael Barnett, who owns this home. It was up for sale. And just a couple of them actually mentioning to me they were worried, wondering if he was inside when that blast first happened. Now to find out that police are saying he's the one responsible, and it's also affected the houses on either side of it. And those people can't live there anymore. They have to find new homes. You can understand why people are not only frustrated, they're downright mad. Now, this is the person we're talking about. Again, let's take a look at his face. Michael Edward Barnett. He's in Chicago. He was arrested on May 10th as a fugitive from justice out of North Carolina. Authorities say Barnett owned the home here on Lombardi Circle, which went up in flames earlier this month. It took over 60 firefighters about an hour to get the fire under control. This after the explosion that rocked the neighborhood. The impact of the explosion felt from blocks away. Investigators quickly saying that the fire was intentionally set. They called it an arson, but they didn't release any other details because of the ongoing investigation. We spoke to neighbors in this community. One neighbor pleased to know that the person who is responsible has been arrested, but also concerned about what he left behind after that explosion.
Mostly relieved that he has been apprehended, that we know where he is, and that we don't have to worry about whether there would be a possible future act of violence against the street or against someone else. What we really want to have happen is that in this situation, they come out and make sure that this, what most likely is a toxic waste dump, that it be appropriately handled. Because when it rains, whatever's in here is going to go right down our street into Sugar Creek.
And that is a big concern, and just the fact of all this debris and everything, it's an eyesore as well. So we'll be checking in with the city to see what actually their role in cleaning this up can be. We're reporting live. Guys, we'll send it back to you.
I know we also spoke to a neighbor who had lived there 25 years, and the house was moved off its foundation. The house is now condemned. Yes. I mean, they were planning for this. They probably thought they were going to stay there another 25 years. That's a wonderful neighborhood, a wonderful street. Do we have any idea about the extradition process, how long it might take?
Yeah, we can talk about that too. As we do that, Ruben's going to shoot into the house you're talking about. That man, we spoke to that man yesterday, and he and his husband had to escape out of a side of that house because of the explosion that shook that house off of its foundation. Now they living there one moment, happy and everything, they and their dog, and now they have to find a new place to live. That's the terrible reality that they're facing. Now, as far as that extradition, an extradition is started when a person is out of the state or out of the area, the jurisdiction where they're charged. The jurisdiction asks if you would like to come back to face those charges. You can say yes or no. If you say no, there's a hearing that takes place, and then they send you back, or you can say yes and you can go back right away. So it could be very quickly, or it could be a few days before Barnett comes back to face the charges. But ultimately, he will probably be back in Charlotte in some period shortly to face these charges of arson.
All right, Richard Devane reporting live for us there in Dilworth. Richard, thank you. 8:04 right now on WCNC Plus. Turning back to the forecast, and Chris, each day it seems like we're trying to get a little bit better, but we're not succeeding.
Today, I think, is a very similar day to yesterday. We're calling this copy and paste. However, I think there's more rain chances today than what we had yesterday. That's the only difference maker. I also want to say, Richard, if you're still listening, you probably have had already a little bit of rain. Well, the rain intensity is about to pick up for you. Meanwhile, Destiny was soaked in West Charlotte. As we start to transition to more of these darker greens, that is a much heavier downpour. But real quick, here's a kind of an example of the yellows. Whenever you have a yellow that's right here, that is going to be a decent downpour. So this is video that I've taken on a previous day. You can see that the windshield wipers pretty busy at the point, not at their fastest level, pretty much a setting before that. So don't underestimate the yellow. That is still some decently heavy rain. That's mainly around Kings Mountain. So if you're not seeing the heaviest rain so far in Kings Mountain, well, it's about to happen in the next 5 minutes or so. I'm going to jump to the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast because we're looking for some better days, right? Well, right now we're looking at about 80 degrees today. So similar to yesterday, I think we are still going to have some areas of mix of cloud and sunshine, just cloudier in the morning. And then by tomorrow, we could see a little bit of rain for the morning time. And I think that if we do see any, it's going to be out of here before the PGA at Quail Hollow starts. Then Friday and Saturday, really a typical summertime pattern. That's going to be a pop-up shower or thunderstorm, mainly during the mid to late afternoon. And then after that, I think that you might see an evening shower as well. And then it looks like the driest of those days will be Sunday, as a front is going to be passing at that point. And that's really the deal here. We've had a front that's moved through the area, and it's that front that is going to continue to drive things up. And then today is a little bit more unique because you're actually going to have a low pressure system that's going to spin things from the other direction. So here it is. Our Futurecast doing a real good job lining things up because notice the time, 8 o'clock. Notice what we have here, 8:06. Now, the only thing is this may be off by about 10 miles, but I think this really just shows that we will see a better chance of a drier forecast here around 10 o'clock. But guess what? Behind this, in the wake of this, I think you're going to start to see a break in the clouds. That's more sunshine. So by the late morning heading into the early afternoon, you're going to have a passing shower or storm, especially further off towards the east of I-77. But then from this point forward, so Charlotte, for example, we're seeing rain right now. Then we'll take a break. Then a chance for a storm. If you get that passing storm, it depends. Where a different part of the 485 loop. So Harrisburg, you could be dry. Meanwhile, it's wet in Huntersburg, making up new places, Huntersville. And then you also have maybe a dry forecast in Paw Creek, but then meanwhile, Pineville gets soaked. That's literally how scattered a lot of these storms are going to be. And that was the case in scenario yesterday, where really from exit to exit on I-77, you can have a different forecast. But I think the best time is about the middle of the afternoon. We take a break at that point for Charlotte, but then you start to see developing showers and storms. So if you're watching from the mountains and the foothills, better chance for storms really about mid to late afternoon. And then it's through this evening, we're going to have scattered showers and storms that start to streak across the area. Keep that in mind. Just like yesterday, we also have a chance that any one of these could be a low and severe level. And we had a lot of severe weather statements just saying, hey, you could have some wind gusts up to about 40 miles per hour, and then maybe some penny-sized hail. That did come to fruition for a couple of these cells, so also kind of keep that in mind as well. I want to end on one more thing. I want to show you the long-range Futurecast, what we could potentially see into tomorrow morning. Here's what it looks like. So over the next 72 hours, I mentioned the rain today. By tomorrow morning, by about 11 o'clock, I think we're seeing a majority sunshine. Seeing most of that rain is avoiding the area. I think more clouds join us on Friday. That's going to kind of keep us away from that 90-degree point. But look what happens a little bit later on. We have a chance for a developing shower or storm really mid to late afternoon. So this is going to be very close. All you need is just lightning nearby to hear thunder to delay anything for the PGA at Quail Hollow. That's going to be a possibility with the back end of the system. Notice the more showers starting to move in from the northwest. That's Friday night heading into Saturday. So we have an unsettled pattern that could also bring some morning rain heading into Saturday. And then we kind of rinse and repeat for your Saturday afternoon heading into Sunday before we level out with a drier forecast in the mid-80s. So constant rain chances. This really makes up for all of our lack of rain today. Just expect on and off, on and off, on and off, just like Majestic has stop and go, stop and go, stop and go.
That's exactly right. We've been seeing that all morning long, and it's still ongoing. Want to say good morning to everyone in Salisbury. If you're heading on up to Charlotte, it's going to take you over an hour to get here. So make sure you plan for that. From Waxhaw to Charlotte, about 67 minutes. So those slowdowns are definitely ongoing. Live look outside, I-77. You can tell well, those area roadways are definitely becoming more wet because of all of the rain. When we're looking at this, all of that green right there is indicating where those roads are wet. So we're seeing that from Gastonia right into the Charlotte metro area, even up towards Lake Norman. Now let's zoom it on in. I want to let you know about this ongoing accident. This is the most important one. 2 lanes are currently blocked at North Tryon Street South and Sugar Creek Road. So you can see a picture that we have of what's going on. You can see a fire truck is there dealing with that ongoing situation. Traffic is still able to move around it, but it is going to be slow moving. So we're seeing that in the picture, but we're also seeing that in our traffic map, seeing slow to medium impacts there.
Majestic, thanks. An East Charlotte community on edge this morning after ICE agents detained a parent who was dropping off a student at school. WCNC Charlotte's Jesse Pierre has details on the growing calls for CMS to take a tougher stance.
It was a routine school drop-off that quickly turned into a stressful one when a parent was detained by federal agents. And now community leaders are demanding change. A parent bringing their child to school Monday suddenly stopped and taken by ICE.
It's extremely concerning when we have a parent who is doing their parent duty and taking their child to school and doing what they have to do, what's best for their child, being detained.
It happened off Albemarle Road in East Charlotte, just a few blocks from the Charlotte East Language Academy.
As somebody's taking their kid to school next to a school ground where a majority of those kids are Spanish speaking and are likely from immigrant families, it sends a message and it only reinforces that fear.
Representative Jordan Lopez says the incident is unacceptable and harmful.
The long-term impacts that has on somebody's mental health, their feeling of security and stability, and moreover, their feeling of being welcomed in a community in the first place.
The Carolina Migrant Network was also alerted about the incident and says these kinds of detentions hit families hard.
Data shows us that when a parent is detained, within 6 months, 70% of the income of that household is lost.
The group is a resource for legal support.
Children have the right to go to school regardless of their status. People have rights regardless of their status, and that is what is protected under our Constitution.
Community leaders calling for school leaders to step in.
Calling on the school board, for example, to make sure that things like this are harder for ICE to make sure that our students are protected and that the environment that they're going to go learn in is that they feel secure, that they feel safe, that they feel supported.
In East Charlotte, Jesse Pierre, WCNC Charlotte.
Charlotte City Attorney now says there will be a full investigation into alleged corruption within the City Council. The attorney, Anthony Fox, not to be confused with our former mayor, says he will investigate who leaked details about a closed-door vote, calling it grounds for a misdemeanor. But we spoke with another attorney who tells us the charges are not up to Fox. It's up to the county prosecutor. That lawyer also said his investigation might be at odds with the First Amendment, which encourages public officials to speak up.
It's important to know that the city attorney is not prosecutor. So it would be up to the prosecutor in Mecklenburg County to make decisions about that sort of thing. You reach a point where the informational content that we're talking about, meaning the political value of it, could be in tension with the statute.
Some argue that statute does not apply since it didn't involve the sharing of a physical file. No word yet on whether a prosecutor is going to move forward in that case. Now to some national headlines this morning. A big decision in the Menendez brothers case. After spending 35 years in prison for the murder of their parents, Lyle and Eric are now eligible for parole. NBC's Jay Gray takes a closer look at what changed.
After a stunning series of events inside this courtroom, Eric and Lyle Menendez do have a shot at walking out of prison. The brothers, sentenced to life without the chance of parole for the 1989 murders of their parents, now have had that sentence reduced by Superior Court Judge Michael Jessic. It comes after a day that was filled with, at times, emotional testimony, evidence, and arguing back and forth. The Los Angeles District Attorney's Office saying that the brothers haven't shown full remorse or taken full responsibility for the murders, and were trying to stop them from being resentenced and possibly released from prison. But the judge said that he was impressed most in all of this by an outpouring of support from within the prison and corrections system. Lead attorney for the Menendez brothers with his family gathered on the court steps immediately after the judge's decision.
We have evolved. This is not the 90s anymore. We have a more robust understanding
of a lot of things. The fact is, the Menendez brothers have done remarkable work, and today is a great day after 35 years.
Immediately after the judge made his ruling, the Menendez brothers had a chance to address the court. Lyle spoke first, saying, and I'm quoting here, "I killed my mom and dad. I make no excuses. I take full responsibility." Next up to speak was Eric, and at times his video feed was interrupted by technical issues, but he did say, "My actions were criminal, selfish, cruel, and cowardly. I have no excuse, no justification for what I did. I take full responsibility for my crimes." The next step in all this is the parole board weighing in. The brothers are immediately eligible for parole, but they're also being considered for clemency by the governor. That's the very latest in what was a busy, surprising day from the courthouse here. I'm Jay Gray, NBC News, Los Angeles.
The ex-girlfriend of Sean Diddy Combs is expected to take the stand again today after testifying yesterday in his sex trafficking trial. Cassie Ventura testified that Diddy forced her to participate in days-long drug-fueled sex parties, often referred to as freak-offs. She also went into detail about alleged physical abuse. Diddy has denied the allegations against him. 8:15 right now on WCNC Plus. Turning now to some weather. And this morning, parts of Virginia and Maryland are recovering from serious flooding. Take a look at the water. It flooded a Maryland elementary school. This is in Westernport near the Maryland-West Virginia border. About 150 students and 50 teachers were trapped on the second floor of the school yesterday. They say the water almost reached up to that level, to give you some idea just how serious, how deep it was. Crews had to use rescue boats to help them evacuate. First responders made about 15 rescue boat trips to get everybody out safely. All right, let's bring in Chris. We're getting some rain, but that is substantial, serious, life-threatening rain.
And picture the rain that we've been dealing with right now. Some of those rain totals we saw up to 6 inches. If we were seeing weeks of rain before that, this could be us in some parts of our viewing area. So we're lucky that we haven't seen this, but this is really what you can see by compound rain. That's one rain event after another, after another, after another. That allows streams, creeks, rivers to be completely swollen over their banks. And if they're talking about minor flood stage, all you need is a torrential downpour to cause a scenario like this. And it also shows the pure power and the most dangerous part of any severe weather event, flooding, where there's more fatalities from any other any other severe weather event than flooding. The only one that beats it, well, it's outside of severe weather, it's actually heat. Heat is actually the biggest weather killer that we have. Now, the heaviest rain that we saw across the area was actually in Virginia over the last 48 hours. But where you were just looking, there were still some totals about 3 to 5 inches total. There's just some areas that saw about close to 7 that were a little bit closer to where we were just looking for some of that video. Meanwhile, we can see for our satellite and radar that heavier rain has now passed Kings Mountain. I was showing you what the yellow looks like on the radar. Check it out here. You were seeing those quick downpours. I took this one day on the way to work. You can see what yellow looks like on the radar. I actually have orange over here just because we have a little bit of time. I want to hop over to the radar because I want to glide things along. So that's what yellow looks like. Here's what an orange looks like as we now can see that here popping up on our radar here. Just give me 1 second. Pop this up. Look at the difference. You can barely see in front of you. Well, we're actually starting to see that across the area, and it looks like that is also showing that some of these cells are growing in height. So the higher that they get up, the more rain that they can produce. So the heaviest rain in the area right now is now passing Lowesville, right around Highway 16 and Brookshire Boulevard. That's going to continue to push its way further off towards the north and east. So we're going to see some of the heaviest rain really between Huntersville and Cornelius over the next 15 minutes or so. And look at how this thing has just spread out. Here I'm going to show you over the last 3 hours. It has continued to evolve. It's kind of churning its way further off towards the north and east. And behind this system, we're actually going to see a little bit of sunshine. That's what's going to spawn up some additional showers and thunderstorms that we're going to keep active really for the course of today. So our Futurecast has done a really good job of keeping track of the rain so far. Here's what it's going to do next. By about 10 o'clock, we're actually starting to see a little bit of clearing, but it's at this point when we start to see the sunshine, we can develop some cells like this. This is 10 o'clock. o'clock to right around noon. We saw this by the early afternoon yesterday that we were seeing these developing cells. I think really anything goes. So I think you're going to have a chance for rain. Then we take a break, and then some cells start to work their way through the area. And it's not a guarantee that you're going to see heavy rain, but if you do have it, boy, is it going to affect your afternoon. And we're also going to keep some of those evening storm chances as well. Look at this. Well after the sun sets, it's actually one of our highest potentials that we could have some rain heading into tomorrow morning. So I just want you to be advised. Also, the Storm Prediction Center does have us under a very low storm risk. We had a lot of special weather statements, and that was showing wind gusts up to about 40 miles per hour. There were some reports of pea to penny size hail associated with the system. So especially some of those individual cells that I was pointing out, that's going to be really the big difference maker going forward. How you feel, it's going to be sticky. You noticed it yesterday. High temperatures were 79 yesterday. Today is 80 degrees, and then we're feeling even more uncomfortable, borderline that air you can wear by the time you get to your Friday and Saturday. This is a summertime pattern. These are the warmest days of the week, but oftentimes you don't even need a big time weather system or front to trigger these type of storms. It's going to be warm enough that we can have that heat and moisture rise up, and then on their own, it's going to lead to some isolated scattered thunderstorms, and they especially break by the late afternoon heading into the evening. I think that's the scenario on Friday and Saturday, which is a better scenario for the PGA tournament at Quail Hollow. And then as we work our way through the weekend, once an actual front arrives, they give a slightly better chance for more widespread activity late on Saturday. By Sunday, staying a little bit drier with temperatures in the mid 80s. So we're almost done with this more active pattern, but hey, Majestic, we need the rain.
Yes, we do. And boy, we've had plenty of it over the last several days, and those roads are still going to be a bit wet if you're getting ready to head out the door. Here's a look at some of our drive times. If you're coming in from Salisbury, you have over an hour, 72 minutes right now. From Waxhaw to Charlotte, about 70 minutes straight. And then you can see I-77. There's a live look outside, raindrops on the camera, and raindrops really impacting some of our area roadways and just that morning commute. So just take it easy out there. What I want to look at now is really this ongoing accident, the most important one I would say, where we're seeing the most backups there. Here's a picture of what's going on. You can see a fire truck is on scene. Two lanes are currently blocked. This is in North Tryon Street South and Sugar Creek Road. So you can see stop and go traffic highlighted in that red there, and then medium impacts just behind it. Just to the south of that, we have another crash on Hickory Grove Road at Lawrence Orr Road. Not seeing any major impacts, but this is where we have a lot of red now popping up on Johnston Road. There's a crash at I-485.
Thanks. In your health headlines this morning, President Trump signed a new executive order this week aiming to cut down on the cost of prescription drugs. Reporter Kent Erdahl takes a closer look at the price battle and how it impacts everyday people.
President Trump put the pharmaceutical industry on the clock, giving drug makers 30 days to lower prices before imposing something called most favored nations drug pricing.
The principle is simple. Whatever the lowest price paid for a drug in other developed countries, that is the price that Americans will pay.
A considerable difference in pricing.
Nicole Smith Holt is no stranger to the cost differences between countries. Her son Alex Smith died in 2017 after attempting to ration his insulin due to the cost in the U.S.
Calling it Caravan to Canada.
And in 2019, Cara Levin followed her on a caravan to Canada with type 1 diabetics who showed us the difference firsthand.
This bottle on my left that I just bought in Canada is $30. This one on my right in the U.S. on my high deductible insurance plan cost me $300.
The trips helped sway support for Minnesota's Alex Smith Insulin Affordability Act in 2021. And this year, a new state price cap law on an expanded number of medications and medical supplies took effect. Which brings us back to today.
I'm going to hold out hope.
Nicole hesitates because she's worried it will take a lot more than the president's pen.
Knowing that it's an executive order, the first thing that comes to my mind is it's not going to happen. It's going to be blocked.
That's what happened with a similar order during Trump's first term, which was later blocked by a court order. But she's hoping this time is different.
It doesn't matter if it's, which side of the aisle it's coming from. I get excited because it's a huge problem. The cost of prescription drug pricing, it's costing people their lives. And like Alec, people are dying. They're rationing their medication because they can't afford it.
I want to applaud any effort to disrupt
the status quo because it's not working for patients and it's not working for premium payers.
State health economist Stefan Gildemeister says that's clear after 5 years of tracking rising drug prices in our state. And he says the president's order, which calls for a mechanism for Americans to buy their drugs directly from manufacturers, could be a key after what he calls rampant consolidation among middlemen known as pharmacy benefit managers.
Their affiliation with pharmacies, particularly specialty pharmacies, has generated a powerful incentive to print money for them. And they have the power to direct business to themselves that seems quite un-American.
Kent Erdahl reporting for us there. Live pictures right now over uptown. You can see the rain dropping off the lens there. That gives you some indication of what you're facing as you head out the door. Coming up in just a minute, another check of your WCNC weather impact forecast and a check of your morning traffic as well. That's coming your way, and headlines at 8:30 right here on WCNC Plus.
Well, good morning, y'all. We literally have our head in the clouds and in the rain here in Dallas. Check out that background. Ooh, that's going to be today. On and off rain, on and off storms. Lower to the mid 60s, current starting point, and we'll eventually get back to around 80 degrees. Widespread rain now encompassing all of the I-77 and the 485 loop around the Charlotte area. This will continue to push its way off towards the north and east before we have on and off rain, on and off rain. Will it rain? Absolutely. It already has. So rain is actually most likely probably about right now. Other than that, it's just really an isolated, spotty to scattered thunderstorm. I think either side of noon is round one. Round two will be late afternoon. Keep that in mind. It's also going to be a slight heat index, feeling that mugginess to the air as we are working our way through the day. So very similar day to what we had yesterday. You're also going to be looking at some of those rain rates that will pick up over an inch per hour in some of those thunderstorms. So I just want everyone to be advised. Our rain chances after that, we should be drying out for your Thursday heading into Thursday night. And then also we'll have a return rain chance late on Friday heading into Saturday. Now let's hit the roads that are fairly wet with Majestic.
All right, good morning to you. If you're getting ready to head out the door, we have multiple accidents that are currently ongoing. All of this green is indicating that the roads are definitely wet as you're heading out. But look at this one. We actually have a picture of what's going on. Fire trucks on scene. There's an accident. Two right-hand lanes, they are blocked. North Tryon Street, south at Sugar Creek Road. So if you typically take that way, you may want to take a different route or just allow for a few extra minutes to get to where you need to be on time.
Streaming live right now at 8:30 right here on WCNC Plus. I'm Ben Thompson. Happening today, Mecklenburg County leaders are going to lay out exactly how they plan to spend your taxpayer dollars, from schools to public safety and property taxes. WCNC Charlotte's Destiny Richards now live with us here on WCNC Plus. So Destiny, what do we know heading into this meeting?
Yeah, so this budget presentation is happening in less than 3 hours now. County Manager Dina Diorio is going to present this first draft, if you will, of the budget for the next fiscal year. And while we don't know exactly what those details are ahead of the presentation of what's in the budget, we do know it could affect anything from your property tax bill to public services and how they affect you in Mecklenburg County. Now, the 2026 budget will lay out spending priorities in areas like public safety, health, and education. As we previously reported, Charlotte Mecklenburg Schools is asking for more than $667 million in county funding, a $28 million increase to keep services running, boost staff pay, and support student learning. And this year, transportation is also in the spotlight. Charlotte leaders are counting on a 1-cent sales tax increase from the county to help fund its transit plan, which includes more buses and new rail lines. During discussions for the Charlotte City budget last week, officials discussed the importance of getting that sales tax on the November ballot.
We have 2,000 projects that we need to find a funding source for. And it just seems that having the sales tax makes a lot of sense because, one, it's immediate, and about 30% of it comes from people who don't live in Mecklenburg County.
And eyes are also on property taxes. Last year's rate held steady at 48.31 cents per $100 of value, and today we could learn if that's changing. And county commissioners will again hear that budget presentation at 11 o'clock this morning. It'll last about an hour, and then coming up later in the next coming weeks, we'll expect a vote from the commissioners, as well as a public hearing and then a vote before the fiscal year budget is adopted. Live this morning in West Charlotte, I'm Destiny Richards, WCNC Charlotte.
So Destiny, there's also, I know, a big focus on youth programs in this budget. What's the county planning to do with that money?
Yeah, so last month it was the Juvenile Crime Prevention Council that came before the Board of Commissioners and basically wanted to allocate $2 million towards youth programs to combat juvenile crime. It's 12 programs that they want to support to help at-risk youth, including CMPD's Youth Diversion Program and addiction treatment services through the McLeod Center. So that's something that was proposed. There was some talk and discussion about it among the commissioners. So we could see a sizable amount of money that is put towards, again, at-risk youth programs. We know juvenile crime has been a big priority in the county for a while now. And so we'll just have to see if that is something that is reflected exactly as it was proposed last month with this budget presentation.
All right, Destiny Richards reporting live for us. Destiny, thank you. 8:33 right now on WCNC Plus. Chris standing by with a look at the rainy start to your Wednesday.
Yeah, not fantastic, but hey, we knew this was the possibility. On and off rain. But just like yesterday, we had some rain that rolled through, and then we saw the sun, and then a storm bubbled up, and then we saw the sun, and there were more storms. It just depends where you are. Some areas could see a storm each round, but I think a lot of us are just really going to see this round of rain, and then maybe you see one, maybe two max storms a little bit later on. So let's look at where we're seeing some of the heavier rain. Zooming into our Dallas camera, you can see all sorts of clouds. You have some of the lower level ones that are forming literally from that evaporating rain on the backside of the system. Also just a stormy sky. Haven't really seen any thunder and lightning associated with this. The backside of the system starting to roll through, but I think what we're going to see going forward is we're going to see more showers and storms starting to form, because already on the backside of this system, I'm starting to see some sunshine that's cracking around Cleveland County, and then eventually we're going to be riding everything around a stationary front, and that's what's going to be controlling following our forecast. So oftentimes, whenever you're trying to get showers and storms, you need a few players to come to the table. Number one, you need something to drive it up. A low pressure system does that. A trough does that. A cold front, warm front. Any one of those on a warm and humid day is going to lead to more widespread rain and some showers. So this front actually has a low, and what that's going to do is it's going to park itself to the north. So that's where we're seeing round one of rain. But then beyond this, we're going to actually have a chance for those showers to redevelop around this low pressure system. So check it out. This is our 36-hour forecast. That low will push its way off towards the north. This trough will drag in some more showers and a few hit or miss storms through the afternoon heading into the evening. Again, not everyone's going to see these, and then we will have another chance for a little bit of rain heading into tomorrow. Now, I think a lot of that rain is going to start in the mountains and then it'll start to dissipate as it gets to Charlotte. I just wouldn't discount seeing another wet start right around sunrise, but then look at your Thursday afternoon. Much better. We're starting to see some showers right along the Virginia border, but most likely Charlotte is staying dry, which is good news for the golf tournament, and I'll have that full forecast coming up here shortly. I'm going to show you one other version of our futurecast. This is the one that I really trust the most. Already picking up on that rain. I think that we will get rid of this batch of widespread showers by about, let's call it about 11 o'clock. Still seeing around Albemarle, but at that point you're starting to see pop-up showers and storms either side of noon. I think mid to late afternoon is a better chance for the second branch to roll through, but as you can see, they're really isolated, so it just depends where you are. But just don't be surprised if you get caught in a downpour. But please, 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 if it's downpouring, just try to slow your speeds down, because the amount of accidents that we had on the eastern side of the 485 loop, I-77 in the early afternoon was staggering. At one point, there were, I think, 10 accidents in about 15 minutes, and cars were sliding off the roads just because they were driving way too fast. I don't want that to be you. You know what? We're looking out for you. As far as any of the fog goes, we do have a little bit to start off the morning. I think a lot of that is going to dissipate, and then you should have fine visibilities with a decent amount of sunshine to end the day. Getting to our Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, I also will mention there's the slightest chance that one of those storms could turn into a severe thunderstorm. So there is also a light chance for some hail and some of those isolated cores. Should be a drier start for day one of the PGA at Quail Hollow. Better chance for showers and storms to end your Friday heading in the evening. We do that again on Saturday along a weak front. That'll cool us down slightly on Sunday, also dry us out, not feeling as humid, then rocking the mid 80s through the middle of next week. And that's the thing. Today through Saturday, feeling humid to almost borderline uncomfortable. We're really starting to see that summertime feel, the surge of that moisture rebound into the area, which leads to a few of those pop-up showers and storms. It's been a wet morning really over the last hour across 485 and et cetera, et cetera. Let's get the full report from Majestic.
All right, live look outside. Let's start with this one. I-77 near mile marker 13. You can see it is so green and beautiful, but those area roadways are still damp out there. So just like Chris said, take it easy as you were heading out the door, because we still have multiple accidents that are still ongoing. Want to talk about a few of them. You can see, let's head up to areas north of Charlotte. We have an ongoing accident that just popped up, Beatty's Ford Road. There's a crash at Hamilton Circle, so just be mindful of that. And then over to the east of Charlotte, we've been tracking this one for you for a while now. Still, 2 right lanes are blocked. This is over towards Tryon Street, south at Sugar Creek Road. We're seeing medium impacts there, but it is still ongoing. And just to the south, you can see all that red popping up, indicating stop and go traffic. This is at Pineville Matthews Road. There's a crash there at McFerris Drive, so just be mindful of that.
Majestic, thanks. 8:38 right now on WCNC Plus, and we're learning new information this morning about a shooting at a Charlotte Popeyes. A restaurant manager now facing charges this morning after he allegedly shot his coworker during an argument over biscuits. 22-year-old Rodney Wood is charged with attempted first-degree murder and assault with a deadly weapon. The shooting happened Sunday night at a store on South Boulevard. The victim taken to the hospital with life-threatening injuries. Wood remains in the jail with a $500,000 bond. New this morning, a federal judge in Charlotte will hear arguments today for a lawsuit filed by Shanquella Robinson's mother. She's suing the FBI and the U.S. State Department over claims that they failed to properly investigate her daughter's death in Mexico. Shanquella died back in 2022 while on a trip with friends. Investigators initially blamed alcohol poisoning, but a death certificate shows she died from a spinal cord injury and a broken neck. Video also shows Robinson being attacked by somebody on the trip with her shortly before her death. The government asking for the case to be dismissed, claiming there isn't enough evidence to prosecute. Today's hearing will determine if the lawsuit can move forward. There is a new push this morning to keep critical funds flowing for 9/11 survivors with medical issues. Advocates say federal funding cuts are putting the World Trade Center health program at risk. The program provides medical treatment for first responders and survivors, and it has been a key resource for tens of thousands of people exposed to the toxic dust and debris since 2001. But now advocates say the program's fate is in limbo.
Since that time, I've encountered prostate cancer, been treated for it 3 times, and then had skin cancer twice. It's concerning. It's my understanding that there's people that are just now getting signed up for it and can't get treatments because of those cutbacks.
Lawyers and advocates hope to see lawmakers support future funding to keep the program active through 2090. This morning, we're learning the Indian Trail Town Council voted to censure fellow councilman Todd Barber. As WCNC Charlotte's Tricia Woodard explains, it comes after an investigation connected Barber to posts made on a Facebook page that talked about town employees and officials.
Well, Barber read through 22 pages detailing how he hasn't broken any town laws. He says his wife is the author of the page and she's the one that's been making those posts, but still, town leaders voting to hold him accountable.
This is enough. We are headed down a dangerous road.
This Facebook page, the Indian Trail Weasel Report, has brewed months of tension, accused of spreading misinformation about town employees and officials.
You and your cronies continue to misrepresent the town by posting divisive, misleading, and untrue information on the Weasel page and creating problems where there are none.
The town hired an investigator who they say linked the account back to council member Todd Barber. He pushed back against those allegations.
These posts do not appear in the report as they violated no law or town policy. I am not a page member or page administrator, nor can I post.
Now you're out of order. The statement was followed by a nearly hour-long heated conversation, while some backed Barber.
Clearly a witch hunt up here. I mean, and he's being railroaded.
Others disagreed.
On the Weasel Report, he posted with the same poor grammar. 14 minutes later, he posted on the Todd Barber page with the same poor grammar.
Some council members wanted to ask questions before voting, but Barber declined to answer. The mayor says this is Barber's second time being censured, echoing the importance of accountability and transparency.
Ask yourself this: if you're married and you live at home and you ask your wife to take over the page, do you think she has any bias in it at all? Ask yourself that. All in favor?
In the end, the board members voted 3-1 to censure Barber. It doesn't remove him from office, but it does make a clear statement about the council and the town's expectations for professional conduct.
You are a coward and an embarrassment to yourself, to this council, and to the entire town. You should resign. Sooner is better than later.
Tricia Woodard, WCNC Charlotte.
Right now, a local food pantry is really facing a crisis after a major cut in federal funding. Common Heart Food Pantry is one of several nonprofits hit by 50% cuts in federal funding. Now, Union County's largest food assistance network is scrambling to meet high demand. WCNC Charlotte's Miles Harris joins us now live in Union County here on WCNC Plus. And Miles, how do they plan to adjust? They weren't expecting something like this.
No, I mean, this is really how it happened very, very fast, Ben. But staff and volunteers, they say that they feel like this is a gut punch to their operations with the amount of time that this has really all happened at. Now, Common Heart, they serve thousands of people each and every month, but now they have to find new ways to do that with half the amount of food.
Something that we were used to having so much of, just all of a sudden be gone is bad. It caught us by surprise. Okay, I can do that.
Ryan Colby, the pantry director with Common Heart, admits everything changed in an instant. In late April, they were informed of a 50% cut in federal funding for the Emergency Food Assistance Program.
That amounted to about 400,000 pounds of food for us last year. So now we're looking at 200,000 pounds of food. So it's a major source of a lot of the food that we distribute.
Without help from federal funds, his team is actively looking for other sources of support to help bridge this unexpected gap.
We can concentrate on staple items. We can try to make sure that, we always have, a can of tuna for anybody that comes through, beans or noodles or rice. things like that.
This cut comes at a crucial time. Common Heart says that they serve around 8,000 people each month, a record high.
It's gonna be tough for the neighbors who came through expecting to get some assistance, because every dollar that they don't have to spend on food is money that they can spend on gas or keeping their car running or paying their rent, and we want to help people.
Now, if you're wondering, what can you do to help out places like Common Heart? Well, a couple of things. One, they are asking for community members to reach out to members of Congress that represent you and actually tell them about the concerns that you have when it comes to these federal funding cuts. The other thing you can do is you can also donate to places like Common Heart. Now, for more information on how to do that, you can actually head over to our WCNC Charlotte mobile app, clicking on this story, getting all that information and more. But, they tell us that when it comes to Common Heart and their staff and their volunteers, that this is not going to change their mission when it comes to fighting food insecurity, but definitely a big challenge, Ben.
As we mentioned, that they served over 8,000 people in the last month, and this is coming at possibly the worst time for them.
Yeah, Ben, it really, really is. I mean, these are record numbers when you're talking about 8,000 people each and every month. So the good thing is that when it comes to that federal funding, that doesn't really fund all of the food that they have when it comes to their services, but it does obviously have a very big portion. So again, they're looking for new ways to do that, other ways, and also more help from the community and making sure that they can obviously help the families in need throughout this area. Ben.
All right, because we know there's so many of them that fit that profile. All right, Miles, thanks, sir. Appreciate it. 8:46 now on WCNC Plus, and this week's weather has been less than ideal for golfers and fans over the PGA Championship at Quail Hollow. And the weather conditions, of course, play a crucial role in every shot you take on the course. WCNC Charlotte meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees raising our weather IQ this morning on how to stay ahead of Mother Nature's game.
In golf, the elements are always in play, and with any outdoor sporting event, weather is a big influence. Here are the three main weather components that can take your shot from a birdie to a triple bogey: wind, rain, temperature. A strong gust of wind can easily wreck an amateur golfer's shot, but it can trip up the pros too.
The wind will determine what club you're going to use on a certain hole, if it's left to right or right to left, or is in their face.
PGA meteorologist Stuart Williams says even a 5-mile-per-hour wind plays a role if the drive is hundreds of yards. The longer the drive, the bigger the impact. With rain, light showers are more of a nuisance.
Because now you got to worry about the umbrella, carrying the umbrella, having a towel to wipe your clubs off every time you go to hit the ball.
Moisture on a golf ball causes additional drag, which means you'll need to adjust your swing. You're worse off in a downpour. Heavy rain can lead to puddles on the course, which can end your game.
If it gets heavy enough to where you start getting the rivers down the fairways, then obviously you can't play.
And don't forget to consider temperature when scheduling your tee time. Pros and amateur golfers alike have better form and flexibility when it's warm. Plus, colder air means you'll need multiple layers, leading to a restricted swing. Cold air is also denser than warm air, which creates more friction on a golf ball. Former USGA Technical Director Frank Thomas says the difference is about 2 yards of carry for every 10-degree change. So theoretically, if you play at 60 degrees in the morning versus 80 degrees in the afternoon, you're looking at a 4-yard loss. Science says the perfect weather for a round of golf is a sunny sky, lows in the upper 50s, highs in the upper 70s, and a light wind. Sounds like a hole-in-one to me. With your weather IQ, I'm meteorologist Brittany Van Voorhees.
I mean, a lot of people in town for PGA, and the weather so far.
Awesome. Terrible. I know. Monday was, you said they literally told people
So
just
don't come. Exactly.
At least tomorrow when it's supposed to start, at least that's going to be the day that it should be good and mostly uphill from there.
Disappointing for a lot of the fans, but today I think there is going to be still a solid dry window that they could still go, get some things done. It's just very wet to start
but
out.
from today forward, will it get better?
Slightly, yes, mostly, for the most hours.
I think the worst of it will be behind us.
Okay.
I think
There we
can
go.
say
That's
that.
it. That's the best way to put it.
It's a team effort here.
The worst of it's behind us. The only reason why I say that is because there is a chance for blossoming thunderstorms to end Friday and again to end Saturday. So I'm not saying it's a perfect forecast, but I think things get a little bit better. Tomorrow looks great, so let's get to
honestly, and when you say it's blossoming thunderstorms, that almost sounds pleasant.
Yes. You know,
I think he does that on purpose.
wonderful
blossoming.
Not
wonderful
like storms are going to
blooms.
fire up. He's like,
Yeah,
blossoming.
They're going to blossom.
Nice greens and yellows and
right.
reds on the radar. You know, it'll be wonderful.
Yeah,
And then you get
there
to
you
go
go.
inside and enjoy yourself.
Lovely.
Hopefully this doesn't happen, though, so we can try to prevent those. As for our golf forecast today, if you're going to be going out there, just anything in general, it's over the next couple of hours that we have the rain. Then we take a break. There's a slight chance that we have an isolated storm to begin the afternoon. And then after that, I think it's really late afternoon heading into the evening that we might have a possibility. This branch of rain that I've been tracking, it's already breaking up substantially. So the heaviest rain associated with this is mainly right around Lake Norman. So this is about to swing through Huntersville. It's already pouring in Cornelius and around Davidson. But I think that this is going to be fully out of the Charlotte area really over the next couple of hours. Check this out. It's about 10 o'clock here on our future cast. And then once you get to about noon, I think it's past and gone. Now, there is a chance that we have a developing shower or thunderstorm, but it looks like we could have a little window of clearing before more of those start to arrive. These are very isolated to scattered, but they become a little bit more numerous, and I think they become stronger to close out the afternoon heading the evening, where not everyone's going to see these, and these will continue throughout your evening hours. So just like yesterday we had a lot of special weather statements, meaning that, hey, this isn't a severe thunderstorm, but it's close. So that's going to be a possibility, but anything goes for the afternoon. I do think early to mid-afternoon might be a better chance to stay slightly dry. So for the PGA tournament, Thursday is good. Friday and Saturday, we have those beautiful blossoming storms, but it's not a guarantee. The only thing I'm concerned about is I'm starting to see the back end of that forecast that some of these could interrupt your Friday, but then Saturday also a front is going to amplify that activity. I only have 20% right now. We might have to up Saturday slightly. And also Friday is quite warm. This could potentially be our warmest day of the year so far. The warmest we've reached is 88 degrees. It did that back in early to mid-April. And then our PGA Championship is also going to be a breezy one. Gusts to about 20 miles per hour starting tomorrow and Friday. Hasn't really been that windy over the last few days, but gusts around 30 miles per hour as the front pushes through on Saturday. So we'll be tracking that. So real quick for our futurecast, scattered rain for today. We'll stop the clock for tomorrow afternoon. Whole lot of nothing. That's what I'm talking about. But then check it out. By your Friday morning, I think we see the increasing cloud cover. You see those quick little blips of showers. It's going to be very brief. So it's a better chance not for that rain coming up, I think, really on Saturday of all the 4 days. Mid to the lower 80s by Sunday. That should be another drier day as that front is dragging in a little bit of drier air, so it'll make it feel a little bit more comfortable because it'll feel quite soupy for Friday and Saturday especially. Then we're rocking the mid 80s heading into the first part of next week before rain chances arrive about mid to late week next week. But we'll get to that when we get to that. Majestic, what's going on traffic-wise?
All right, we'll start the live look outside because we are still seeing some slow-moving traffic here and there. This one not too bad, though. I-77 near mile marker 13. Still looking at multiple accidents that are popping up across our area. All the green is indicating the rain, but where we have this blue right here, that's where there actually could be some ponding across area roadways, so make sure you're slowing it down. If you get caught in one of those heavy downpours, you don't want to hydroplane. Want to take you over to areas north of Charlotte where we do have this slowdown at Beatty's Ford Road, a crash at Hamilton. You can see all the red there really indicating that stop and go traffic. Not what you necessarily want to be in. Another big slowdown here. It's on Highway 521 where it meets I-485. Also seeing lots of red there on our live traffic maps. And then we'll highlight this one here. There is a crash at Lancaster Highway. So make sure you're just slowing it down, especially as we are also working with our weather elements this morning. Ben.
All right. People still waking up fresh off Shakira's stadium show last night at Bank of America Stadium. And a lot of folks going to these shows are starting to do the math about how expensive some of these shows can be. An analysis by Gig Calculator broke down the cost per song for some of today's top artists, and is causing some debate over whether they're worth the price. Lana Del Rey leads as the priciest concert performer at about $16 a song. Charlie XCX tops the per minute cost, if you do the math that way, with just over $3.50. Get this though, if you're budget conscious and you're wanting to go see a show, the best value might be from Ed Sheeran at just 91 cents per minute, or doing the math the other way, Usher at $3.75 a song.
Yeah.
Ed Sheeran's like a deal at this point.
I know,
91
right?
cents?
I know, how about that?
And I've been to an Ed Sheeran concert. It's fantastic.
Sure.
He does the loop pedal, all one man. It's amazing.
So, of course, we wanted to see what we thought. Even if it never happens, what would be the concerts we'd be willing to pay anything for, no matter how much it is a song?
And some of these are impossible, and you'll see why.
Yeah, so let's start with me. I said Michael Jackson at Bank of America Stadium.
Wow.
Because I never saw Michael Jackson perform. And I still have yet to see a concert at Bank of America Stadium, so I'm behind. Lisa, who's not with us right now, but this was her top pick. Also not likely to happen. Whitney Houston at the Las Vegas Sphere. I think anything at the Sphere looks like
Wow, that'd be a whole experience.
Much less if Whitney Houston was there. Chris, you're next.
Mine's a little bit more reserved. Jimi Hendrix at a dive bar. I want early Jimmy, where he was blossoming. I'll use that word again, where he was really just getting into the music scene. That'd be so cool because you have more of an intimate setting. It was like, who is this guy?
I love the dive bar.
Jimmy at the Thirsty Beaver.
Yes, pretty much. Imagine that.
On Central Avenue, where Mick Jagger went, by the way.
All right, mine is the most realistic.
Yeah.
I love Lainey Wilson, and I would love to see a concert at the Red Rocks. Never done that, but I think that would be very cool, and it could happen. I just need to save up a little and plan a trip for it, and I guess she needs to perform there, which I think she's going to.
All actual distinct possibilities.
Yes.
Unlike the rest of ours.
All of ours are missing some key elements. But
just a few.
We can dream, though.
That's
we
right,
can dream.
That's right. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break. Coming up in just about a minute, we're going to have another check of your forecast and traffic. And then we're back at 9 a.m. Jane Monreal is going to be over in our live Impact studio stream. She's going to be talking with Camino about the Latino community impact on the economy, as well as all the live breaking news events as they happen from across the country, right here on WCNC Plus.
Good morning, y'all. This area of rain is almost clearing out. Man, we got a quick downpour for some locations. Some of you are still seeing the rain. Here's what our futurecast is showing from about 10 to 11. We're saying goodbye to that. Slight chance we could have a storm or two start to blossom from there. But as we work our way through the late afternoon, heading into the evening, you're going to have a hit or miss shower or thunderstorm. Some of these could turn severe. That's what this yellow is representing. So especially late afternoon, heading into the early evening, that's where I think we're going to be most unstable. This is also showing that I think we could have a nice mix of cloud and sunshine today. So very similar to yesterday, similar high temperature, similar sky cast all in all. Majestic, what do we need to know?
Well, we are definitely seeing those wet conditions like you mentioned, so everyone should just take it easy as they're heading out for their Wednesday morning commute. In addition to that, our drive times aren't looking the best. Lots of orange and even red from Waxhaw to Charlotte. It's going to take you over an hour to get up here, so allow for plenty of drive time to get to where you need to be. Multiple accidents out there, so take it easy. You can see this one here that's impacting Beatties Ford Road. There's a crash at Hamilton Circle.